Hey y'all, so we are covering chapters 6 through 10 of the Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about the magic issues. Here we go. So before we really get into the chapters for this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about the issues that I talked about with Saidin and Saidar and the male and female side of the magic system. So I expressed frustration with Moraine, mostly, because at this point, she hasn't helped Rand at all, and I feel like Rand has been really struggling with not understanding how to use his power, what that means, how to control it, and all these other things. And you know, I did get a lot of comments talking about how men can't really help women use the magic system just like women can't help men, and that makes a lot of sense, and I do understand that, and I think I wasn't quite thinking that part through completely, but I still do have an issue with Moraine, and I understand that she can't really help Rand try to use it or control it, things like that. I get that. My issue really still is that Moraine doesn't even attempt to try to be helpful or comforting. And I understand that she can't literally help him. However, with Moraine's demeanor, to me it comes across as, I am a powerful magic user. You are a farm boy who is supposed to be special but knows nothing, and you just need to do exactly as I say. I don't have to explain anything to you. I don't have to be nice to you. I don't have to do anything to help you whatsoever. So I feel like Moraine is just very demanding of everyone around her without reciprocating anything, really. So her and Lan have an understanding, a camaraderie, if you will, because they've been together for so long, and he understands how Moraine works, how Moraine thinks. But these other kids, they're kids in the brand new world to them, and she just doesn't really, she's not even nice to them. And I understand that she can't help them, but it's almost to me as if she's just, well, I can't help you, but figure it out. And she's very cold and just not helpful. She's not a pleasant person. So I think, and I know I keep saying that she's not helpful, and I know that she can't technically help. However, I don't feel like we've ever had a conversation with Moraine to where she's being comforting or trying to explain anything to them without being condescending. It's hard for me to try to wrap my words around what I'm trying to convey to y'all. I just don't think that she could be more helpful emotionally, even if she can't help magically, I think is still my issue. And I understand that we may not see every single conversation with them, but I think that's why the kids don't trust her, and I'm not expecting her to tell these big important secrets that, you know, might be dangerous. I understand that she's going to have some secrets, but she's just not, I don't know, I guess with fantasy I usually typically expect, you know, the wise old grandfatherly mage that helps the young farm boy along on his quest, and I kind of expected Moraine to kind of fill that role, and she's not even remotely nice or motherly or anything. So I think that's just her character, but I feel like whenever I'm saying she's not trying to help Rand at all, that's more of what I'm talking about. I understand that she can't teach him much, but I don't know. You could be nicer, Moraine. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. I'm going to quit talking because I'm talking in circles. Let's just get into chapter 6. Chapter 6, the hunt begins. So this is right after Rand kind of shook up the entire camp. He's actually just disappeared. He's ran off, and of course everyone is upset. So at this point, Perrin is actually kind of demanding answers out of Moraine because she's not very forthcoming, as we've just talked about. So I liked that Perrin wasn't really backing down from her. I liked that he was demanding answers and wanted them. Rand left a letter for them, and he does say that he's worried about everyone's safety because he can't control himself, so he has left. So because of everyone's dreams having kind of the same thing going on, Moraine puts together that Rand was projecting his dreams about the sword, and so she concludes that Rand is going to go to Tyr to try to get the sword, just like the prophecy says, because he wants to end this. So we are pretty much getting ready to travel to Tyr at this point. Min wanted to come, but Moraine tells her that she needs to go back to Tar Valon and tell the Emerald Seat what is going on. She eventually decides that she's going to go ahead and go, and she tells Perrin that if he sees the most beautiful woman in the world to run, and I think she's talking about Lanfear, who I hate. And she also tells him about a falcon and a hawk perching on his shoulders. So she tells him about that, and then we move on into chapter 7. Chapter 7, The Way Out of the Mountains. This chapter was really short and quick. It's more of a character building chapter because you've got Moraine, Lan, Perrin, and Loyal who are traveling together to follow after Rand. And I think Moraine is kind of trying to punish Perrin for pushing back up against her and kind of talking out of turn. So she's kind of retraining Perrin to listen to her, and I actually think it's kind of funny. I know I have my issues with Moraine, but I do still ultimately like her as a character, and she does have a sense of humor that when it does show up, like in this chapter, it's very nice. I do find it funny. So yeah, this was just a short and sweet chapter. Chapter 8, Jara. So Moraine, Lan, Loyal, and Perrin arrive in Jara, and it's clear that something is wrong in this place. There were a lot of weddings. White Cloaks were in the area, and they were acting very out of character. Like some of them were even just quitting and leaving the White Cloaks, which is very out of character. And at first I actually wrote it down in my notes, I thought that it had something to do with the foul odor that Perrin is smelling. He's smelling something foul. And almost 2 or 3 paragraphs later, Moraine explains that it's actually Rand's fault because he's such a strong Ta'veren that he kind of pulls everyone's strings while he's there. So he's causing weddings to happen, and White Cloaks are deciding they're gonna desert and leave. So he's kind of the cause of all of this chaos at this point. So Simeon is the innkeeper there in Jara, and he actually asks Moraine to help his brother. So Moraine and Perrin go to see Simeon's brother, and he's out in like this barn. He's kind of locked up. He has yellow eyes like Perrin, and he's completely lost who he was. He is no longer, I guess, I don't want to say he's no longer human, but he no longer has the mind of a human. He's almost gone feral. And Moraine can't really help him. Perrin actually lets him out. And so his name was Gnome. Gnome was too far gone for Moraine to save him. And Perrin is really upset by this. He's already been struggling with his powers and kind of aware that he's almost losing himself sometimes because he keeps saying, I am a man, and getting frustrated when he kind of loses himself in the wolf's thoughts. So you can tell this really bothers Perrin. It's kind of hit close to home for him, and I feel really bad. Chapter 9 is Wolf Dreams, and Perrin is basically avoiding everyone in town. He's staying in his room because he doesn't want anyone to see his eyes because he's afraid they're going to recognize them from Gnome. And he finally just goes and talks to Moraine, and here's where Moraine kind of shows a little bit of kindness that I was looking for. And she explains that she doesn't know much, which is fine. We're used to that. But she explains that some men go crazy and kind of lose themselves. And she tells him that wolves are basically of dreams and to be careful of his own dreams because of that. So she kind of gives him some information about what's going on with him, but she doesn't really have anything to fully help him, unfortunately. So he's armed with a little bit more information. He does know that it's possible for him to go crazy, just like Rand using saidin, unfortunately. So he's really worried about that. That night, Hopper appears in his dream, and if I remember correctly, Hopper died in book 1. He died in book 1. So it was kind of awesome to see Hopper again. He tells Perrin that there is danger and warns him, and just like with all dreams, they kind of flash through some scenes, and Perrin ends up walking in on Lanfear, kind of poring over some manuscripts, and she looks up and sees him, yells at him that he's not supposed to be there, and so he kind of leaves, basically. Hopper kind of comes in and tells him that he shouldn't be there, that he's in danger, and kind of attacks him to jar him out of this dream. And then we flash to Rand, who we haven't seen in a little bit, but we just get a little snippet of him, and he's protecting himself from some dogs that are kind of following him. And he kind of talks to himself, saying that he's becoming addicted to the power, and that's pretty troubling. When we're with Rand, I feel like he's deteriorating mentally, and I didn't really expect him to deteriorate so fast. I feel like between book 2 and book 3, he's just really gone downhill extremely fast. So I'm kind of confused as to why this is ramping up a little bit, especially when we have so many books to go. We'll see. Chapter 10 is Secrets. We have Nynaeve, Egwene, Elaine, Varen, Huron, and Matt. Is that all? That's all. They're all traveling to Everland, and Matt is very sick. He's so sick that they're having to carry him on a litter, and he's unconscious. They are extremely close to Tarvalin when they're stopped by White Cloaks, and there is, of course, some posturing from both the White Cloaks leader, who turns out to be Dane Bornhold, the son of the other White Cloak that died in book 2 at the end. So we have Dane Bornhold there, and of course, there's, like I said, there's posturing between him and Perrin, and Elaine mentions her mother. Egwene panics. She has PTSD from being captured, so she panics, immediately thinks that she's not going to be caged again, and she immediately opens herself up to Saidar. They attack, and Dane basically kind of tells them that Elaine's mother has abandoned Tarvalin. So once this little scuffle is over, Perrin is extremely upset that the girls use the power as a weapon. But they ride on, they leave Dane, behind, he's still there. And they further harm the relationship between the Aes Sedai and the White Cloaks. It's already bad, but you don't want to do anything to worsen it, so that's not good. Those 5 chapters were actually pretty quick. I feel like we got a lot of character stuff rather than plot, so they went by pretty fast. And I wanted to talk to you all about the next book, Shadow Rising. I went ahead and bought it in preparation. I realized that it is almost twice the page length as the Dragon Reborn. I like to keep the videos about 15 minutes because I feel like if it gets too long, then, it kind of gets boring. You don't want it to be too long. But I'm kind of worried because when I look at the chapter count, because with the Dragon Reborn, I'm trying to do about 5 chapters per video. I feel like that's a good solid number. But with the Shadow Rising, with it being double the page count, there's only 2 additional chapters, like by numbers. I think there's 56 in the Dragon Reborn, but there's 58 in the Shadow Rising. So we've got double the page count, but basically the same number of chapters. So I don't know how that's going to work in future videos. I want y'all to tell me if you still want me to go with the 5 chapters per video, even if it does kind of get a little bit too long, like around the 20-25 minute mark. I don't know how it's going to be, because it really depends on how the writing is, because some chapters may be kind of long, but they don't have a lot of meat to them that you want to, pick out and talk about specifically. You all know what I mean. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but let me know how y'all feel about maybe if some of the videos do end up being longer that way, if you still want me to try to get 5 chapters per video, or if they do get a bit too long, to go ahead and parse it down to maybe 3 to 4 chapters per video instead of 5 if it does kind of get too long. So let me know what you think. Keep the chapter number or keep the video the same length, and we'll go from there. Like I said, we've got plenty of time before I really start this and before we start those videos, but I wanted to kind of give everybody a heads up, and I may talk about it in another video later down the road to kind of remind y'all, and we'll go from there. But I'm really loving where the Dragon Reborn is going. I feel like I already like it more than the other 2. And I think it's mostly because Perrin is a big part of it, and Perrin's my favorite, so I'm excited. Anyway, I think that is it. We'll see y'all next week for another Wheel of Time video. Y'all take care. Bye.